You know, Blumhouse has always had its fair share of, like, hit or misses when it comes to its films. I think that the studio has a lot of potential. They make a lot of good films sometimes, but for the most part, most of their movies are, they're not great, you know? Especially this year. We've had a lot of stinkers this year. Films like Night Swim, which I did not talk about because I did not want to talk about it because, it's not good. It's really not a good movie.
Marco.
I might review it one day because it's kind of funny, but it's not good. It's not good at all. It definitely was not a great way to start the year, and now we get to the next Blumhouse movie they've released, Imaginary, which is somehow worse than Night Swim. This film was directed by Jeff Wadlow, and a lot of people are not going to know who that is from me just saying their name. This is the cinematic genius behind such amazing films like Fantasy Island and my personal favorite, Truth or Dare. Remember that movie? I shouldn't have even been surprised that this movie was terrible. Honestly, just what was I thinking? In this film, we follow a family who have just moved into their stepmother's childhood home, and everything's going really great until their youngest starts to talk to an imaginary friend named Chauncey. From there, things start to go wrong as the stepmother realizes that Chauncey was once her old imaginary friend who is now seeking revenge for her leaving her. Really quickly, before we really get into the main review, I just really want to address something because I really didn't expect this movie to be very good. Like, I didn't expect it at all to be good at all. Like, just considering what Jeff Wadlow has made in the past, like Truth or Dare and Fantasy Island, which I have seen. I've seen both of them. And they're both not good. They're pretty friggin' bad. But they're almost bad in a way that's kind of funny, especially Truth or Dare. So taking that into account, I knew that I was in for like a dumpster fire with this movie, but I kind of thought it would be a dumpster fire that I could laugh at and actually have a little bit of fun with, because some of his movies have been like that. So I'm just gonna address it right now. I did not expect this movie to be high quality gold or anything. But even with my expectations on the floor, essentially, somehow this movie still managed to disappoint me. Like, at least I was wanting to just laugh a little bit in the movie and just laugh at a dumb horror movie, which there are times where it is like that. But for the most part, this film is just unapologetically boring. And so slow and crammed with, like, exposition that just tries to explain itself and tries to be a real movie, but once you really sit down and realize what they're talking about or what the movie's about, it honestly becomes kind of infuriating because this movie is just a giant cliche of the entire horror industry. Like, genuinely, I think there is at least, like, 50 cliches in this movie, and I don't know, I'm going a little bit overboard with that, but literally every single cliche you can think about in a horror movie is in this movie. It's kind of honestly insane just how many there are. Things like the classic trope of, oh, something's behind you, and the character doesn't see what's behind them, but we as the audience see it. It happens like 15 times throughout the movie. And of course, you gotta have some lights flickering in this movie, because every horror movie has to have that. And then also terrible jump scares that are just not scary, like, at all. Like, they're honestly just really, really bad. They got, like, no tension or build up. They're not creative. It's just loud noises and they just startle you. It's just like putting a microphone up to my ear and just blasting it at full volume. It was terrible. Like, honestly, it was honestly pissing me off throughout the entire movie because I was trying to have a good time with it, but how am I supposed to have a good time with something like this when they're just blasting random bullshit in my ears for like an hour and a half? But even though this movie is just really not great, I still had a couple things that I did want to talk about in terms of things that were okay in this movie, and there's literally only one thing I can really think about, and that's the fact that some of the practical in this movie is actually okay. Like, some of the monster designs they're uninspired. Like, don't get me wrong, they don't look great, but they do some practical work in this movie, especially with the main bear Chauncey, when he turns into like this monster, and considering what it could have been, which is CGI garbage, I actually do kind of appreciate that they actually tried to make this character look a little bit cool. And you know what? For when he's on screen, I'll give you full props. It doesn't look that bad. It looks okay, but it just doesn't help that the rest of the movie doesn't give it anything to do. And of course, I also mentioned it, there are a couple parts in this movie where it's so bad it's funny. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I didn't find any of it funny or mildly amusing. No, there were a couple parts. Exclusively, though, only with Chauncey the bear, who I think's an absolute unit in this movie. Like, look at this funny little guy. Isn't this guy cute? And the filmmakers really didn't do themselves any favors if they were trying to make him, like, really scary or intimidating, because in the movie, they'll, like, try and make him look more intimidating. And they'll, like, almost, like, Photoshop / use special effects in post to kind of, like, change up his eyes to give him, like, an angry smirk where he'll just be sitting there, like, like somebody, it's really weird. They like position his eyes in weird ways and make him look angry, and every single time, without fail, every single time they showed him do that, I laughed. Like, I laughed so goddamn hard, because it's just so stupid that it came off as funny to me. And there's a lot of moments in the movie like that, and a lot of it does have to come down to the dialogue as well, which I just want to say really, really quick. I know this isn't a positive, but like, there's literally nothing else to talk about in terms of positives. Like, that's it. But the dialogue in this movie is just honestly something to behold. It is so goddamn bad. This is not how people talk. This is not how people talk at all. Because everyone in this movie literally speaks like an alien. Like, no one talks like this in the real world. No one. This movie honestly also came off as kind of pretentious in my opinion. It's like they had a concept and the filmmaker said, this is a really good concept, this is a really smart idea, it's a really good idea, this is gonna sell a lot of tickets, this is gonna get a lot of people in those seats. But like, it's not great at all, but it almost comes off as like almost pretentious in a weird way. It tries to act super mature, which is hilarious considering what the movie is actually about, and it's like tonal whiplash. It just does not work, and they don't have the talent nor the effort, so it honestly just comes off as like just a jumbled mess. Like, just all of it does, and nothing is fully explained. Like I said earlier, nothing is fully explained. There are multiple plot holes in this movie that I don't want to super get into because honestly I just don't have the motivation to, because it's not good. Like, it's just not good. And I hate to be like this, but it's just, it made me lose brain cells. Like, it honestly, like, I stepped out of the movie and I was physically drained. Like, I was just like, oh my god, I just want to go home and sleep. Like, that's the feeling I had after watching this movie. Not happiness, not just kind of laughing at it like, haha, that was fun. No, I just wanted to sleep. That's how bad this thing is. So obviously with that information, this movie's gonna get a pretty low score from me. This movie is gonna get a 2 out of 10. It's not good. It's a terrible horror movie that somehow got even lower than my expectations than what I already had. It's boring. It doesn't make any sense. There's literally just nothing good about it besides some of the practical work is actually decent. The rest of the movie is just a super jumbled mess that I would not wish upon, like, my worst enemies. Like, it was so boring. I sat there with my mouth open the entire time, just, oh my god, like, let it end sort of thing. But then I got woken up because Chauncey was making stupid faces, so it made it kind of funny. But, like, don't watch this movie, it's not good. But yeah, those were my thoughts about Imaginary, my favorite movie this year, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be great, I'm sure it's gonna just be up there the whole year. But with that, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. See ya.